gentlemen, welcome back to the Cambridge Union. I'm sorry for the delay tonight, and it's great to see so many of you here. I get straight down to business. The debate before the House tonight is that this House believes private education is a public nuisance. And I'm very pleased to welcome, to open the case in favour of the motion, Mr. Michael Pike.
Mr. President, it is rather some time since I was last present in this famous chamber, so I hope I may be allowed to start with a little reminiscence. In fact, the occasion was the first debate of the Michaelmas term 1961, and I still remember the occasion very vividly, not for the debate, which was, I think, this House has no confidence in Her Majesty's government, but for an incident that preceded it. The President of the day, Mr. P.G. Hancock of Emmanuel College, had no sooner started the proceedings when there was a huge commotion at the door, and a group of girls from Newhall were attempting to gate crash the proceedings. And those of you who are not familiar with the history of this institution will realise from that in 1961 women were not allowed to be members of this society.
Shame.
Now, the leaders of the latter-day suffragettes, Miss Jill Booland and Miss Jenny Ditches, attempted to address the society, but they were drowned out by a male chorus of foot-stamping, booing and catcalling. Moreover, the stewards at the door were so vociferous in attempting to repel the boarders that eventually a scrum developed and Miss Booland fainted and had to be carried out, bringing a premature end to the protest. And so was upheld the long-standing, if not honourable, tradition of this institution of misogyny. But not for very long, because 2 years later, women were admitted to full membership of the Cambridge Union Society. And does it not seem now that events of that kind belong to another world, another period of history? Are they not far away and strange? And yet, in that same year, my college debated the motion, "This House considers that public schools are public nuisances." And here we are, Mr. President, 47 years later, debating exactly more or less the same motion. Here is something that has not changed at all ever since the introduction of compulsory publicly funded mass education. Almost 140 years ago, the great majority of the wealthiest, most influential and most powerful members of British society have consistently and determinedly refused to have their children educated alongside those of everybody else. And that, Mr. President, is what we are here to debate. We need to address this fundamental question. What are the educational, social, political consequences of this long-standing divide? A divide almost unique to Britain. What are the implications for the development yet to be achieved, I think, in this country, where more people vote in Big Brother than in some political elections, of a mature democracy, when we segregate the children of those who currently lead our society from the children of the other 93%? The answer, Mr. President, is that they are almost wholly negative. We on this side of the House will show that private schools in Britain, whatever their individual merits, and we do not deny that there are some very fine private schools, and whatever arguments may be advanced for their individual existence, and we do not deny that some private schools meet a need that the state cannot supply. Collectively, private schools have always hindered and will continue to hinder the development of a fair, inclusive and democratic society. Now, in proposing this motion, I will contend that private schools are public nuisances because in advancing their own interests and those of their clients, the rich and the powerful in the main, they seriously damage public provision. In particular, they deprive the state sector of resources and they deprive it of status. Throughout its history, since 1870, British public education has been poorly resourced. Buildings and equipment have been inadequate. Teachers have been poorly paid and have enjoyed low status. I remember getting a huge shock very early in my young life. I was sent at the age of 5 to a girls' convent school. At the age of 7, the nuns decided that the boys were now a grave moral risk to the girls, and we were all decanted out. And at that point, I was sent to the local state primary school. And the difference in facilities, the difference in class size, the only advantage of it was that the class was so large that you could do your own thing in the corner, safely knowing that the teacher would never notice you. It was a shock even then. Even today, after 11 years of relatively high government expenditure, the average per capita spend in the state system is £5,000. As someone which no private school would manage to exist at all. Not even the sort designated in Decline and Fall as school. For those of you who have not read Decline and Fall, Paul Pennyweather is told that the agency divides places into very good school, and school. This one is school. Even school would struggle to survive on fees of £5,000 a year. And the reason for this is that most of the rich and powerful members of our society have no personal stake in public education. They may have a political stake, they may have a general goodwill, as indeed do some headmasters now in the private sector, but they have no personal stake. Their children go elsewhere. And where they do have a stake, provision is very lavish indeed. And I'd just like to illustrate by considering the provision for music at one such school. One you will have heard of. The King's College of Our Lady of Eton besides Windsor. An institution founded for the education of 70 poor boys, although there has since then been a change of policy. A school which in some parts of Berkshire it is believed God attended.
It's got to be a point of information, isn't it?
We cannot be beaten. God was at Eton. Basic fees currently £28,080 before extras. Some £2,000 less than they would be if the school was not also able to claim tax breaks as one of the largest 100 charities in Britain. 28,000, by the way, is rather more than the national average wage, which in Britain is earned by 2/3 of the population. I quote, "The school boasts 8 organs and an entire building for music.